Why you should practice speaking. Leo often stared at his reflection, mouthing words silently, wishing they would burst forth with confidence. He knew grammar rules and endless vocabulary lists, yet communication felt like scaling an impossible mountain. His thoughts raced in perfect English sentences, but his tongue tied itself into knots. Frustration mounted daily, a heavy weight on his shoulders. His daily struggle was real, a constant reminder of his linguistic limitations. Classrooms provided theory, but real-world interactions felt daunting, almost paralyzing. He longed to express himself freely, to share his ideas and connect with others effortlessly, but fear held him captive. Every missed opportunity stung deeply. He realized learning English wasn't just about textbooks, it was fundamentally about connection. Why practice speaking? Because it was the bridge from isolated knowledge to vibrant, living communication. Without speaking, all the grammar and vocabulary remained inert, a beautiful but silent collection of words in his mind. The truth hit hard: fluency comes from doing, not just knowing. His initial attempts were awkward, filled with stutters and pauses, but each small step chipped away at his monumental fear. Embracing imperfections became his new mantra, a crucial shift in his mindset. Listening, he discovered, was the silent architect of his speaking ability. Why must you listen? Because it calibrates your ear to rhythm, intonation, and natural phrasing. It's impossible to speak naturally if you haven't deeply absorbed how natives actually sound in various contexts and situations. He started with podcasts during his commute, then moved to English-speaking YouTubers discussing his hobbies. Movies without subtitles became less about understanding every word and more about absorbing the flow. His ears became finely tuned instruments, picking up nuances he previously missed entirely. One critical aspect was building his English study plan for talking. This wasn't just passive learning, it was an active blueprint for vocal engagement. It included daily speaking targets, specific conversation topics, and dedicated slots for interaction, transforming his approach fundamentally. To improve his fluency, Leo started narrating his day silently in English. I'm making coffee now. The water is boiling. This simple practice, often called self-talk, bridged the gap between thinking in his native language and spontaneously forming English sentences, fostering mental agility. Remembering words used to be a rote memorization chore, but Leo found a better way. He focused on context, using new vocabulary in sentences, or even creating funny mental images associated with the word. Spaced repetition flashcards, reviewed strategically, solidified retention over time. His way of learning English evolved from a fragmented collection of tasks into a cohesive, immersive lifestyle. He surrounded himself with English media, sought out opportunities to use the language, and consciously made it an integral part of his everyday existence, not just a subject. How to talk with anyone became less intimidating once he shifted his focus. Instead of worrying about perfection, he aimed for connection. Simple questions, genuine interest, and a willingness to make mistakes opened doors to unexpected conversations and valuable learning experiences. He joined online language exchange platforms, initially terrified, but quickly realizing that others were just as eager to practice. These low-stakes environments provided a safe space to experiment with new phrases and build confidence incrementally. Practice English became his daily ritual, not a burden. 5 minutes of shadowing a native speaker, 10 minutes of free-flowing self-talk, 15 minutes of a structured conversation with a language partner, every little bit accumulated into significant progress over weeks. He even started singing along to English songs, not just for fun, but as a playful way to improve pronunciation and rhythm. It was a less formal, more enjoyable method that bypassed his speaking anxiety, subtly training his mouth muscles and vocal cords. One day, he stumbled in a grocery store, needing directions. Instead of defaulting to gestures, he pushed himself to articulate his question in English. The reply came quickly, and he understood it. A small victory, yet profoundly empowering, boosting his self-belief. He learned that overcoming the fear of judgment was perhaps the most crucial step. People are often more impressed by your effort than critical of your mistakes. This realization freed him to speak more, to stumble more, and ultimately, to learn more quickly. His vocabulary retention skyrocketed when he started linking new words to personal experiences or strong emotions. If he heard a new adjective, he immediately tried describing something in his immediate environment using that word, solidifying its meaning. Fluency wasn't a sudden magical leap but a gradual, persistent climb. There were days of incredible progress, followed by frustrating plateaus where it felt like he wasn't improving at all. Those were the crucial moments to simply keep going, to trust the process. His English study plan for talking became more sophisticated, incorporating role-playing scenarios and impromptu speaking challenges. He would pick a random topic, like describe your dream vacation, and force himself to speak for 2 minutes without stopping, even if it was imperfect. He started noticing how native speakers used filler words and natural pauses, which he then began incorporating into his own speech. This made his conversations sound more natural and less like he was recalling textbook phrases robotically, adding authenticity. The journey to remember words involved active recall. Instead of passively reviewing flashcards, he'd try to recall the word from memory first, only flipping it over if he couldn't. This engaged his brain more deeply, strengthening the neural pathways for retention. Leo also started keeping a small English journal, jotting down new phrases he heard or interesting expressions. He didn't aim for perfect grammar. The goal was simply to engage with the language actively beyond just speaking and listening, reinforcing learning. His daily struggle transitioned into daily triumph. The initial anxiety gradually gave way to confident ease. Conversations that once seemed impossible now flowed naturally, becoming sources of joy and genuine connection, not just challenges to overcome. He learned that the way of learning English wasn't a one-size-fits-all solution, but a highly personalized adventure. What worked for one person might not work for another, emphasizing the importance of experimentation and self-awareness in one's study methods. How to talk with anyone transformed from a daunting mystery into an exciting opportunity. He began attending local English meetups, initially just listening, then slowly contributing, and eventually leading discussions, embracing social interaction fully. He discovered the power of shadowing, repeating phrases immediately after a native speaker from a podcast or video. This technique refined his pronunciation and mimicked native speech patterns directly, training his mouth and tongue for fluency. To effectively practice English, Leo scheduled specific speaking slots in his day. Whether it was talking to his pet in English, recording himself speaking on a topic, or calling an online tutor, these dedicated times ensured consistent vocal output. He found that creating an immersive environment was key to how to learn English comprehensively. Labeling household items in English, changing his phone language, and even dreaming in English became subtle yet powerful reinforcing tools, creating a constant linguistic presence. His daily struggles became less about fluency and more about refining nuance, understanding humor, and mastering idiomatic expressions. The challenge shifted from basic communication to deeper, richer understanding and expression. Remembering words also involved creating a vocabulary notebook where he'd categorize words by topic or function. This contextual grouping helped him recall words more efficiently during conversations, enabling thematic recall. His English study plan for talking evolved into focusing on specific communication goals. For instance, he might dedicate a week to practicing giving opinions, or another week to mastering storytelling in English, targeting areas for improvement. Why you must listen became even clearer as he aimed for more advanced communication. Listening to complex debates or intricate narratives helped him grasp advanced vocabulary and sophisticated sentence structures used by fluent speakers. He started paying attention to connecting words and discourse markers like however, therefore, on the other hand. Incorporating these made his arguments more cohesive and his speech flow more smoothly, signaling advanced proficiency. His way of learning English also embraced making mistakes publicly. He started viewing errors not as failures, but as invaluable feedback for improvement. This mindset shift accelerated his learning curve exponentially, fostering resilience. How to talk with anyone included initiating conversations with strangers in English-speaking environments, even if it was just asking for directions or ordering coffee. These brief, real-world interactions built his confidence brick by brick. He discovered the power of self-correction. Instead of letting mistakes pass, he would often rephrase sentences on the spot, showing his brain the correct structure. This active engagement ingrained proper usage more effectively than passive learning. His struggle shifted from fundamental communication to expressing abstract ideas and complex emotions. He began reading English literature and philosophical texts, expanding his intellectual vocabulary and expressive range significantly. Why you should practice speaking was evident in his increased opportunities. He could now travel confidently, participate in international projects, and build friendships with people from diverse backgrounds, enriching his life immensely. His daily routine now included short bursts of mind mapping in English, where he'd visually connect ideas and vocabulary around a central theme. This stimulated creative thinking in the language, preparing him for spontaneous discussions. Remembering words became easier as he applied the use it or lose it principle. He actively sought opportunities to use new vocabulary in his conversations, solidifying them in his long-term memory through repeated active application. His English study plan for talking eventually focused on delivering short presentations or summarizing articles orally. This pushed him beyond casual conversation, demanding more structured and formal linguistic output, enhancing his public speaking skills. How to improve your fluency now involved practicing circumlocution, describing a word he couldn't remember. This trained his brain to think on its feet and find alternative ways to express ideas, crucial for real-time communication flow. He found immense value in listening to diverse accents and dialects. This broadened his understanding and prepared him for various real-world scenarios, making him a more adaptable and effective communicator across different contexts. His way of learning English became increasingly autonomous. He could identify his own weaknesses and proactively seek out resources and practice methods to address them, becoming his own best teacher and guide. How to talk with anyone became less about a rigid script and more about adaptable strategies. He learned to listen actively, ask follow-up questions, and provide thoughtful responses, creating genuinely engaging dialogues. He realized that consistent exposure was key to how to remember words naturally, without intense effort. The more he encountered a word in various contexts, reading, listening, speaking, the more ingrained it became without specific memorization drills. His daily struggle transformed into a daily joy, as English became a natural extension of his personality. He no longer felt like he was translating in his head, thoughts emerged directly in English, effortlessly and spontaneously. Why you must listen evolved to appreciating cultural nuances embedded in language. He learned about humor, sarcasm, and indirect communication through deep listening, enabling him to navigate social situations with greater sensitivity. His English study plan for talking included mock interviews and negotiation simulations. These high-stakes practices built mental resilience and quick thinking, preparing him for professional and challenging communication scenarios effectively. How to improve your fluency now involved fine-tuning his pronunciation, working on specific sounds that still pose challenges, and practicing sentence stress for clearer and more impactful delivery, adding polish to his speech. He learned that the best way of learning English was to never stop. The journey was continuous, with new challenges and discoveries awaiting him constantly, fostering a lifelong passion for linguistic exploration and mastery. How to talk with anyone expanded to include public speaking opportunities, where he shared his own language learning journey. This not only solidified his own confidence but also inspired others to embark on their linguistic adventures. The story of Leo's transformation highlighted that consistent effort, a positive mindset towards mistakes, and a relentless commitment to speaking and listening were the undeniable pillars of achieving true English fluency. His daily routine now consisted of joyfully engaging with the English language in all its forms, from complex articles to light-hearted conversations. The struggle had been real, but the rewards were immeasurable, enriching his entire life exponentially. He understood that why you should practice speaking was fundamentally about opening up a world of opportunities, forging deeper connections, and gaining an unparalleled sense of personal accomplishment and freedom. Remembering words wasn't about brute force but about meaningful engagement, making each new word a part of his active linguistic toolkit, ready for immediate use in spontaneous communication. His English study plan for talking eventually became second nature, a flexible framework adapted to his evolving needs, always pushing him gently beyond his comfort zone towards greater linguistic mastery. How to learn English was ultimately about sustained immersion, fearless application, and a continuous desire to communicate effectively, turning a difficult challenge into a rewarding and transformative personal journey.